Holly, please call the roll.
Mr. Blake?
Here.
Mr. Love?
Here.
Mr. Cross?
Here.
Mrs. Floyd? Here. Mr. Guthrie?
Here.
Ms. Hall? Here. Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Marmee?
Present.
Mr. Rapp?
Here.
And Mr. Roulette?
Here. We have all here who are present this evening. Next we have the invocation by Mr. Johnson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Join me in prayer. Lord, we come tonight as your servants. We're thankful to be able to meet in a country that believes in freedom of religion and freedom of speech. Bless us in our deliberations. Be with those in need. Be with those who experience grief, especially the family of Jim Paul. And be with those who experience joy in their lives. We pray for city, county, state, country, and world that we may be understanding and have peace. In your name, amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next on the agenda this evening, we have caucus. That's the time for council to discuss anything that may be on the agenda this evening. Do we have any comments? Seeing none, next we need a motion to approve the minutes of our council meeting of October 20th, 2014. So moved. Motion by Mr. Rath, second by Mr. Johnson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That passes. Thank you. We have two reports this evening from standing committees, one from finance and one from personnel. Without objection, those will be received and filed. We have one report from city officials this evening from Barb Jobs, our income tax collection reports ending October 15, 2014. Also without objection, that will be received and filed. We have three communications this evening, one from the Department of Developmental Disabilities, one from Paul Moran, and one from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. Without objection, those will also be received and filed. Next on the agenda tonight, we have comments from citizens. There's two sections of comments from citizens, one now and one after the legislation. This is your chance to give us a brief summary or make a brief statement. This is not a debate with council. This is just your chance to be heard. So, would anyone like to speak this evening in the first section of citizens' comments? Yes, sir. Would you please come up and give us your name and address for the record?
Good evening. My name is Wayne Bieber, 967 Jonathan Lane, Newark. I've been in the community for 11 years, and I'd just like to speak for a moment on behalf of the group. We're the local Move to Amend group. Many of you know us. We've been trying to get a few minutes of everybody's time, and I know everybody's been busy with the election, with everything else that's going on, but the concept here is that we'd like to speak with everybody individually, and we'd like to, at some point, put forth the opportunity to perhaps bring this to a vote through council. As you know, we had a petition. We failed by 110 votes. We're trying this tack. If we can't get that done, then we'll probably go and redo an additional petition to try and put it on a future ballot. In the meantime, between now and the end of the year, if any of you have not spoken with us, I'd like to pass my business card. It's got my phone number on it. You can disregard everything else that's on there, or you can take a look at my website. I don't really care. Please, if you can get in touch with me, we're more than happy if you can give us 15 minutes of your time individually to explain what it is that we've gone over. We've done that with many people here, so you can we're not out to beat anybody up. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I would like to apologize to Mayor Hall. We did send a letter to everybody. Our intent was to send you a letter. When we get far enough in the process, we did not, but we will get you one at some point. So just again, be aware of who we are. We're in the community. We are theoretically 1,200 signatures strong. We're just not enough. But we're getting stronger, and you can see our group is growing. We're getting to more and more of a presence in the community. This is our only issue, period, the end. And if you're interested in learning more about it, please, if you want to contact me, I'll be happy to arrange a time when one of us or two of us will meet And if not, that's okay. You can just let us know. We won't pester you. We're not miserable. That's it, pretty much. Everybody have a happy holiday, and thank you for the opportunity. Have a good night.
Anyone else this evening for the first section of citizens' comments? Again, there's another section after the legislation. Okay. We'll move on to ordinances on the first reading, 14-37.
Ordinance 14-37 by Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Cost, Mr. Marmee, an ordinance amending the position classification, pay range, and department authorization tables of the City of Newark Division of Water and Wastewater by creating the classification of electromechanical technician at the water treatment plant and setting the compensation therefore and abolishing one water plant operator position.
14-37 will be held for a second reading in 2 weeks. Next, we have resolutions on the second reading, 14-82.
Resolution 14-82 by Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Cost, Mr. Marmee, Mr. Rath, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of municipal corporation.
You've heard the second reading of 14-82. What is your wish?
Mr. President,
Mr. Blake?
move to adopt 14-82.
Motion to adopt 1482 by Mr. Blake.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Floyd.
Mr. President,
Mr. Blake?
move to amend the 14-82. Section 2 currently reads that we're going to appropriate $89,063.25 with some information from Barb Giltz. We got the latest funding level estimate for the Attorney General is actually going to be $29,213.39. So changing that appropriation of $89,000 to $29,000.
So we're on only 29 instead of the 80.
Correct.
Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Floyd. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Bub?
Yes.
Mr. Cost?
Yes.
Mrs. Floyd? Yes. Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Hall? Yes. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
And Mr. Roletta?
Yes. 14-82 has been amended. Is there any discussion on the amended 14-82 before we vote? Seeing none, all please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Bub?
Yes.
Mr. Cost?
Yes.
Mrs. Floyd? Yes. Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Hall? Yes. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
And Mr. Roletta?
Yes. 14-82 as amended has passed. Next, we have resolutions on the first reading, 14-85. I'm sorry, 86. Sorry.
Resolution 14-86 by Mr. Cost, Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Marmee, a resolution appropriating monies for current expenses of municipal corporation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Blake?
move to waive the 2-day reading rule.
Motion by Mr. Blake to waive the 2-day reading rule. Second by Mrs. Floyd. Why is that, Mr. Blake?
There's some payouts to retiring employees.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Please call the roll to vote on waiving the 2-day reading rule.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Bub?
Yes.
Mr. Cost?
Yes.
Mrs. Floyd? Yes. Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Hall? Yes. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Roletta?
Yes. 2-day reading rule has been waived. Mr. Blake?
Move to adopt 14-86.
Motion by Mr. Blake, second by Mrs. Floyd. Is there any discussion on 14-86 before we go? Seeing none, all please call the roll to vote.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Bub?
Yes.
Mr. Cost?
Yes.
Mrs. Floyd? Yes. Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Marmee?
Yes.
Mr. Rath?
Yes.
Mr. Roletta?
Yes. 14-86 passes 10-0. And next on the first reading, we have 14-87.
Resolution 14-87 by Mr. Cost, Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Marmee, a resolution appropriating and disappropriating monies for current expenses of municipal corporation.
14-87 will be held for 2 weeks. And that's it for the legislation this evening. Pretty light tonight tonight. Next is your second opportunity for comments from citizens. Do we have anyone that would like to make a comment? Ms. Grant?
Paul Moran, 63 North 4th Street. I got one topic, that's all tonight. It's in remembrance our Veterans Day. On June 1st, 1954, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed an act of Congress to honor veterans on the 11th day of November of each year, a day dedicated to world peace. Thus, Veterans Day came into being with observances held in towns and cities throughout the United States and in Arlington Cemetery outside Washington, D.C. Here in Newark, Ohio, in 1954, November 11th, the auditorium was featuring Sands of Iwo Jima. The Million had Dragonfly Squadron. Following the parade, a program was conducted at 6th Street Park before approximately 500 people. Promptly at 11 a.m., factory whistles blew and church bells chimed as those at the park stood in a minute's silence in honor of the men who gave their lives in defense of their country. I'd like to add that this year the Midland is going to be involved with Veterans Day, and they're going to have the story of Doolittle's Raiders, so that should be interesting on top of everything else we might have going on. And also, I think we should always remember our POWs and MIAs that are still unaccounted for in all the wars. And freedom does come at a cost. And I thank you. And happy birthday, Don.
Thank you, Mr. Rand. Anyone else this evening? Okay. Anyone from the administration tonight? We're winning over, Mr. Johnson.
I don't want to throw off your momentum. You're moving along very nicely.
Mr. Johnson. Honorable Law Director.
Mr. President,
Mayor Hall.
two quick notes. Yes, a week from tomorrow is Veterans Day. Many activities across the community. I would encourage every citizen to try to get involved in something. There's breakfast if you have a family member or a friend that's a veteran, or you are yourself. There are free breakfast at many of the lodges around town, and there's a lot of activities going on. So I think it's very important. November is also Hire a Veterans Month. Working with Ohio Beans Jobs location, the county, and Job and Family Services out on East Main Street next to Heritage Hall. If anyone knows a veteran that needs a job, please have them stop in out there. There is availability to work with them to get a job. They're short veterans. They're not short jobs, so that's a good thing. So I would encourage that. I did a proclamation and sent that out to them. And last but not least, yesterday was Rolling Thunder Toy Run. We joined them out in Heath at Toys R Us, and about 600 motorcycles left there and came down here, turned right here at City Hall, went up and down, and ended up at Salvation Army. Long story of it, it was the 27th annual. I taped it about 2 years ago. It's about a 10-minute passerby of motorcycles. It's quite something, with both fire departments and police departments involved, and even Grandma came in. And they get about $15,000 worth of toys donated, which gives the Salvation a wonderful start to the holiday season to help many families in need. So it's very touching and very amazingly successful. I think across the state it stands second to none, really, in what it does. And I want to thank all of those people that they worked hard. Both majors Major DeMichaels at the Salvation Army will be retiring at the end of this year after 16 years of service to the community. They are staying in the area. They've had 3 children graduate from Newark High, but we will have some new leadership in there probably about the middle of next year. So it was a little bit bittersweet for them as they saw that last cruise in there. But it's a phenomenal project, and to see that room full of toys and waiting to be given out, and bicycles and everything else, really good. So I just want to thank everyone that was involved in that, because they really helped the community. That I pass.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. Mr. Blake?
I just want to first say, we had some exciting things down in the South End last week. I want to thank the city officials for coming to the Brewski's ribbon cutting ceremony last Wednesday. Gary and Shannon, the owners there, they've invested 6 figures into a new building, and they decided to come to our neighborhood, and so I thought that was a huge commitment on their part. And so I want to thank the city officials and everyone who attended that ribbon cutting. And then also we had the ribbon cutting for the housing development from the main place. And so there was a project there on South 6th and South 3rd that are 2 good important additions to the South End. Speaking of the South End, I gave everyone a copy of our postcard. November 13th, Fred Ernst is going to come and speak to the neighborhood, and this is open to the whole city if anyone wants to attend. He's going to give a presentation on the change that will be happening to our downtown in 2015, And then the second part of the meeting is going to be focused on Habitat for Humanity. With Habitat for Humanity for Mid-Ohio, they're coming to speak and they're looking for participants. Their issue really isn't necessarily finding properties to build new homes on, it's finding people to want to participate to get into a home. And so we're wanting to invite them and to talk about ways that we can work together to get people and families connected with their programs, so we can get some new houses built within neighborhoods throughout the city. The other thing I want to mention is I also want to extend my birthday greetings to Dawn, and then we'll call for a Finance Committee meeting next week.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to encourage everyone to get out and vote tomorrow, and also wish you a happy birthday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bob. Mr. Goff.
We also had the grand opening of Columbo's and River Road Coffee, which was also very nice to see for downtown Newark, as well as the Brewski's Pizza, which was a nice event. And I also want to respect my elders and push Don.
Mr. Costa. Mrs. Floyd.
He must be pretty young if I had him in school, so I guess.
Thank you.
It's interesting that we have Veterans Day and the election so close together, because if you know, it always amazes me that people like to talk about being in a free country, but if you don't go vote, those veterans fought and died for you, and it's through your vote that we have freedom. So I know I'm speaking to the choir. I'm sure everybody in here either has voted or will vote tomorrow, and that's a good thing. I'm supportive of moves to amend. I don't know what we as a council will do, but I certainly am hopeful that will eventually become part of the Constitution. And I want to call Personnel Committee for next Monday night.
Thank you, Mrs. Floyd. Mr. Guthrie.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to welcome the folks from Move to Amend. It is a very good cause, and it's something that I've always had good feelings about myself. I want to follow up on Mr. Moran and the mayor and other comments about Veterans Day. I mean, it's really encourage folks to come down to Veterans Park on 6th on the 11th at 11 o'clock, and it's very nice. It's always been a nice celebration. Generally they have the band there, and it's just very worthwhile, and I encourage folks to participate. I'm very proud of the fact that my late father was at Omaha Beach on D-Day, and both of my brothers were, one was in Vietnam, the other one was in at the same time, but they wouldn't let him go to Vietnam, so he was on an island in the South Pacific burying Agent Orange from Vietnam. But I honor my father and my brothers on that very important day for all of us. And I also, Mayor, thanks for your note concerning United Way. I hope that everyone either supported United Way through the city or through their own employer. It's a real important cause for our community. I mean, it's amazing what the United Way agencies, including Salvation Army, do for our community. I mean, sometimes I think that we don't really realize how much they do for our community and for people who maybe weren't born as in a circumstance similar to most of us. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. Ms. Hall.
I just want to wish you a happy birthday as well. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Mr. Johnson.
Happy birthday, Don. I just wanted to comment about the wonderful trick-or-treat on the square that we had last week. And Carol, you said there were 700 things that you passed out.
I passed out.
We passed out, I don't know how many candy bars, and took a whole lot of them home also. They're all very good. It was really nice of them. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Marmon, who's also one of our veterans.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Happy birthday, and
It'd be nice, I was nice to you.
all right, I'll be mean there. I wanted to just comment on, I asked Mr. Johnson to mention Jim Paul, who is the father of Joe Paul, who does a great job in our property maintenance department. But more importantly, Jim Paul, what he has done for this community. He was a coach and one of the founders as far as making Mountain City Little League what it is today and what it has always been over the years. I think that anything that was built down there was probably built by him and his construction company that he had at very little cost. He's done phenomenal things for the community. He's coached in other capacities, not just down at Mountain City, but I think he was one of the longest standing coaches at Mountain City, and was just somebody who was just always involved in the community, and in particular when it came to kids. And again, my condolences to Joe Paul, who is a current employee in our property maintenance department, and that family definitely needs your thoughts and prayers. I too am going to comment. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town on November 11th and will not be able to participate. But Veterans Day is very important. And the comment, what the Midland's doing for Mr. Doolittle. I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Doolittle while I served in the Air Force. At that time, he was the only individual who was a Medal of Honor recipient who was on active duty. He's one of the very few Air Force representatives who has received the Medal of Honor. If you do not know about his story and what he did for this country, it's worth looking up, and it's worth watching. They're having a movie about that. Just a phenomenal man, very much a gentleman when I met him, very down to earth, and just a class act. And not to mention all the other veterans. It's amazing. I went to the Ohio State football game this last weekend, and the entire time there was a lot of things about veterans. They had people who were serving currently bring out the large American flag in the beginning. They recognized every single ROTC individual. Every time that you might be watching a commercial over there on the big screen, they're flashing up veterans who went to Ohio State. And I mean, it is constant, and it's never the same person twice. And so a university like that, representing the veterans and those that serve currently and in the past, is just incredible. And I do support them and what they do for us. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. Mr. Rath, who's also a veteran.
And happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
And I guess the best way you could honor the veterans is to exercise your civil right and your civil duty and vote tomorrow. That'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Rath. And Mr. Arletta.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Arletta. Just a couple of bookkeeping things. Next Monday, which is the 10th, will be our committee meetings. City Hall will be closed on the 11th for Veterans Day. Our next council meeting is also here in this room on the 17th. Dorothy, thanks for the cupcake. I'll enjoy that this evening.
Oh.
And is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Koss, second by Mr. Rath. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Same sign. Thank you. Thank you for coming to the Newark City Council meeting. We appreciate it. Thank you.